You wake up. The sun is the same. Your phone buzzes the same. You make coffee. Simple. Automatic. Then your thumb freezes above a notification. A choice opens. 2 buttons. Swipe left. Swipe right. They look identical. You don't think much of it. You press. A door closes. Another door opens. You move on. You do this 1,000 times a year. Each small motion shifts the map. But today you notice. Today you feel the tremor. Why now? Because today someone says you can see both lives. Because today you trace the split. Because sometimes the smallest decision lets you step into 2 different rooms. Which one will you live in? The screen cuts. A city skyline at dawn. A child blowing on cereal. A calendar with a red circle. Silence. You feel the question. You keep sipping. The world doesn't warn you. It only waits. What if every dollar, every hour, every yes and no carved a path you could walk down later? What if the future wasn't a single road but a fork that duplicated your life? You stand at a hallway with mirrors. Each mirror shows a you shaped by a single choice. The strange part? You already chose most of them. You only didn't know they were choices. You don't notice yet. But the split is real, and it keeps happening. But then, a number flashes. Savings, 200. Debt, 2,000. Rent, due in 3 days. An email from a recruiter. A text from a friend wanting to borrow cash. A sale on sneakers. You breathe. One decision hides behind another. Which one matters? Level 2, 5 years later. 2 lives run side by side. You step into life A. You remember the coffee. You remember the text. You said no. It felt awkward. You put the money in the savings app. You paid your rent on time. You ignored the sale. Small acts. A pattern forms. Your bank balance is quiet, not heroic, not flashy, but the river widens. The strange part? Neither life feels like a punishment. Both feel like choices you would make again. You think you could switch? You could not. Which life would you pick if you saw both tomorrow? You don't yet have to choose. You only have to notice. Then the phone rings. Pattern interrupt. Silence cuts. A child's laughter plays over the ringtone. Your heart stops. You answer. It is them. They need help. Now. You hold the line. Level 3. You work late. Promotion is possible. The email header reads, leadership path. It demands time, more visibility, more risk. You can say yes, you can say no. Both choices split another reality. You imagine life A again. You accept, you commit. Nights at the office, weekend strategy meetings. Your partner makes coffee and eats alone. You miss a recital. You get the raise. You pay off a loan. You also lose a line in a child's drawing because you were absent when they colored it. You don't notice the missing line at first. You notice later. Years later, you imagine life B. You decline. You keep dinner for Sunday. You leave work on time. You sit through the recital. No promotion. A quieter bank account. A warmer living room. A hand holds yours. Which is worse? Which is better? You feel the pull. The camera closes in on your face. A single breath. Then you make the choice. But the choice is only the first chapter. Consequences multiply. One decision bursts a chain. Level 4. Flash forward. 10 years. Life A and Life B are parallel films. You watch them like cinema. In Life A, you stand on a stage. People clap. Friends send congrats. You smile. It feels like victory. You are known by your job. You are famous in a small world. In Life B, you stand in a backyard. There is a crooked swing, paint on the mailbox peeling. You hold a paper crown on a small head. You smell cake. You smell of coffee. Your hands are full. Your bank app shows fewer zeros. You are quiet in the crowd, but you are home. Both scenes ache. Both scenes whisper truth. What they don't show you is the crossing. In Life A, you miss a diagnosis call because you were on a plane. In Life B, you cannot pay for an unexpected repair. Both lives pay, just in different currencies. The strange part? You never feel completely satisfied in either film. Because satisfaction is not only money or time, it is the alignment between your choices and your who. You start to ask a new question. Who are you building for? You thought it was for freedom. Now you ask, freedom for what? You squint at the screen, your pulse speeds, then everything shifts. Pattern interrupt. A quiet voice speaks in the dark. It is your mother's. She says 2 words. They are not about money. They are about regret. You fold. You promise not to repeat it. But promises are made of choices. Level 5. Money arrives. Money leaves. You judge yourself for both. A bonus, a surprise bill, a funeral, an art show. Every event demands a decision. You begin to see a map. The map shows forks. Some forks are loud. Some are nearly invisible. You learn to spot them. You start small. You choose cheaper coffee 3 days a week. You invest the difference. The numbers are tiny. The act is loud in your head. Sacrifice. Later, the tiny numbers echo. You get a small account balance. It is not much, but it is yours. You open it every month. At first, you feel hunger when you skip a new gadget. You tell yourself you'll enjoy it later. You lie sometimes. You buy it anyway. Later you don't die. You still cry. You still sleep. The scale tilts back. But then you try again. You choose differently. You keep choosing. Time compounds choices. The fifth year feels different. You wake to a number that surprises you. You saved enough to say no to something that used to define you. You say no. You feel weight lift. A world opens. But then, a friend calls. They need a place to stay. You remember yourself at that age. You open the door. You trade some of that freedom for a person in need. It costs you time. It costs you money. It gives you meaning. Which future wins? You can't tell. You can only live. Level 6. The crisis arrives. It always does. A market crash, a hospital bill, a betrayal. You are tested. Your two lives react differently. In life A, you have emergency funds, you sleep, you still lose ground, but you survive. People rally with food and memes. In life B, you scramble. You call someone you owe. You rearrange payments. You borrow. You beg quietly. You swallow pride. Neither path is clean. Both show you your edges. You learn what you planned for. You learn what you ignored. When the dust settles, you count. You lost more pleasure in life A. You lost more sleep in life B. Which had a higher cost? You cannot answer without naming value. You realize value is subjective. It is personal. Your decisions are moral maps. You begin to see your life as a ledger, but not just of dollars, of time, of trust, of presence. You tally differently now. Pattern interrupt. Silence. A montage of clocks. Tick, tick, tick. Your heart matches their rhythm. Level 7. You get a call. It's the old you. Not literally. A memory. A voice. It says, "Do you remember when you were fearless?" You do. You recall nights you stayed up planning. You recall a notebook filled with dreams. You lost some along the way. Which ones mattered? You find the notebook. Pages frayed. Plans underlined. A sketch of a house. A list of names. Your handwriting young and large. You trace it. You cry. Because the young you made a promise to the older you. An agreement to try, to risk, to pick doors, and, if wrong, to open another. You close the book. You look at both lives. You realize the split is not permanent. It is a trajectory. You can nudge it. You can redirect. But redirection costs. Then a decision appears. Bigger. Scarier. You can take a leap that costs what you saved, or you can protect the safety blanket and keep the story steady. You hear a child's voice in one life. You hear applause in another. Which voice do you owe more to? You do not decide from logic alone. You decide from fear and hope. You decide from which past self you respect. You decide from a stomach knot. You decide. You pick a door. But remember, choice bursts consequence. Level 8. 10 years again. Now with your decision folded into the timeline, you see both films converge and diverge like tectonic plates. One life has scars, the other has trophies. One life has stories that make your eyes wet, the other buys you space. You live both in your head. You sometimes envy the other you. You sometimes smile at what you gave up. Both are honest. You learn the quietest lesson, that no life is pure victory, that every gain sits beside a loss. You can forgive yourself and still change. You can regret and then act. You do not need to punish the present for a past choice. You sit at a kitchen table. The sunlight slices across an old napkin. On it, a list, the young you's list. It has fewer items now. You cross one off. You write a new line. You draw a small arrow. It points forward. You smile. Not because the path is certain, but because you chose to look. Because seeing both lives taught you how to weigh. Because seeing both lives trained you to ask better questions. You stand. You walk outside. The street is the same. Neighbors wave. You wave back. Then you press your thumb on your phone. You transfer a small amount. You book a ticket. You call home. Small gestures, not dramatic. They are enough. They tilt the map. You realize the future is a sum of tiny adjustments. The last twist. You thought the split would end with money. It did not. It continued with the way you speak to your child, with the emails you ignore, with the jokes you make at dinner, with the way you answer your name. Everything carries weight. You thought regrets would crush you. They don't. They educate you. They redraw your compass. You keep walking. The camera pulls back. Both lives continue to exist. You will visit them both. In memory, in fear, in hope, but you will live only one. Your decision today is a brushstroke. 1,000 more will come. Silence. You breathe. You whisper a promise to yourself. The promise is small. It is large. It is, I will look before I press. I will ask what else this choice buys and costs. I will honor the people I love. I will hold time like currency. Days pass, years pass. You make more decisions. Sometimes right, sometimes wrong, sometimes both. At the end, when you stand before a mirror of all your lives, you will not be judged only by wealth. You will be judged by the totality of your answers. Not every cage has bars. Some arrive as comfort. Last line. The future isn't built by one decision. It's built by thousands you barely remember making.